All right, we're going to move on to a little segment called Say What here on Foxboro Rush. We got some key quotes that came around the league. And it all starts with former, now retired Patriots running back Damian Harris on Mac Jones' time in New England. He was speaking on the Athletic Football Show, and he said, this is a short quote, "What happened to Mac Jones in New England was not because of Mac Jones." Talking about Matt Patricia and Joe Judge leading the offense in his second year in the league. The full extent of this was, what happened in New England to Mac Jones was because of the fact you took away an offensive coordinator in Josh McDaniels, who coached him to be a Pro Bowler and almost coached us to winning our division with a rookie quarterback. Then you take Matt Patricia, who's coached defense his entire life, Joe Judge, who's been a special teams coach, and then you just throw them in there and say, hey, coach this kid up. He's a first-round pick. But as long as you teach him what I say, everything is going to be fine. What I say alludes to Bill Belichick and the control he had on everything. What was your reaction to seeing Damian Harris, who spoke on this more than any other player that had that experience in that awful second year for Mac Jones, that awful offensive experience? What was your reaction to seeing Damian Harris go to an extent like this and call it out for what it was, what everyone knows, which was a failure?
I think there's a lot of truth to what Damian Harris had to say. In terms of Matt Patricia was a disaster. It was a stupid decision from jump. Joe Judge, it was dumb trying to bring him in and make him do something he had never done before, just like Patricia. I also think there was a level of Bill Belichick thinking he could do the impossible, which was develop a quarterback with a bunch of guys that he just liked, not necessarily coaches that were built to do that. So I agree with him on all of that. But I think an important reminder for everybody out there, if you don't know, Damian Harris and Mac Jones are very good friends. Me and George, I love you, right? If something bad happened and people were trashing all over you and you had to do whatever, I'm going to stick up for my boy, right?
My man.
And I think everybody else out there can agree with that. But if you stink, you stink. And I think that's like, let's all be serious for a moment. Mac Jones was never going to rise above a certain level. The Patriots didn't even help him get to that level. I think there's blame plenty to go around for everybody. But I can appreciate and respect Damian Harris's desire to go to bat for his friend. He's just being a good pal is all he was really doing.
Good pals going back to their Alabama days. Yeah, I mean, going into year 3, Mac Jones was what he was, right? In the final year when you bring in Bill O'Brien. And again, Bill Belichick doesn't give Bill O'Brien a full free reign and full say on his offensive staff. But these are the reports that came out. I mean, Jacoby Myers came out and said, we didn't know what we were doing. We're really confused. Everything's behind. Yeah. Guess what? Was told to F off, walk, and was great for the Las Vegas Raiders. Brian Hoyer was told to eat it after he was a guy that behind the scenes validated Mac Jones' feelings of being screwed over by the staff. Right. And that's what you get. Matt Patricia never did it before. Joe Judge neither. Bill Belichick, with the defensive mind that he was, the three of them are leading this offense. And they even took plays that Josh McDaniels ran and completely changed the wordage and verbiage of the play calling. So even what Mac Jones knew, they switch it up on him. This is the quote that got me, is that Damian Harris said this too. If anyone had anything to say about it, it was met with a very, very quick and swift, shut the F up, I know what I'm doing. Again, that's coming from Bill Belichick. And that's what he was doing. There's ego, there's bravado, whatever happened to it. They ruined Mac Jones. Now, would he have been anything special? Would he be anything close to what Drake May could be one day? No, not at all. But he was a Pro Bowl replacement quarterback, and if you put everything right around him, look at a Brock Purdy, but more athletic is Brock Purdy. But look at him. That's what you could have had, but you never had the system in place. Yep. And Josh McDaniels bolting to go be the Raiders head coach is what started all of this, and look how long he lasted there. All right, next up, Ryan Kelly, NFLPA Vice President of Executive Committee on an 18-game schedule. Until you're the one that's going out there and putting the helmet on for 18 of those games, then come talk to me. How long do you think until the NFL, the fact they're even talking about this, how long do you think until the NFL has an 18-game schedule? Now, given the current CBA runs until 2030, so 2031 is literally the earliest we can see it. But do you think it happens then even?
I think just like many of the things that have come up in the past few years, we're going to see it as soon as it's allowed. Because I think the NFL gave in a little bit more than the Players Association did for the last CBA. They've moved around a little bit of the offseason stuff. They made it a little bit easier, and that's a whole different conversation for another day. But it's the PA's turn to give in, and this is a huge ask, and I agree with Ryan Kelly. It's maybe the dumbest thing they can do in terms of player safety. You know, there's a quote out there from LaDainian Tomlinson. It's back, when he was playing. He said, "I wake up every Monday morning and I feel like I got into a major car collision." that's what playing in the NFL is like.
Mm-hmm.
If 16 wasn't enough, they needed to make sure it was 17, and now 17 is not enough. And it's all for some extra money for a bunch of billionaires. It's such a ridiculous idea. You know what I mean? Like, if you spell it out to anybody who doesn't really watch sports, if you just explain it, they'll be like, what? Why?
Mm-hmm.
That's so stupid. And we can all see that it's stupid. But the guys with the deep pockets, they're going to get what they want. And like you said, it's ready to go in 2030, and I think that's as soon as you're going to see it, is right when the new CBA is agreed to.
Yeah, one of my favorite running back quotes, too, and Arian Foster, favorite running back I grew up watching outside of LT, he also said Tuesdays were Toradol Tuesdays because the amount of Toradol they would take after a Sunday game or a Monday game where it's still in your system, so Monday you're okay. Players, NFL players on Tuesday, which is the mandated day off during the week for most teams, unless you're playing on Thursday night now, some of them can't get out of bed because the Toradol wears off, all the pain comes in, and they can barely walk. Again, to LT's point, feeling like they were put in a car accident. The way I see this going down, like you said, the NFLPA is going to have some give on their side, upping the minimum salary. They would have to add in another bye week, maybe have a mid-week season break as well, where it's like an all-star week, like what the NHL, NBA, and Major League Baseball has. Instead of putting the Pro Bowl at the end of the season, make it flag only, but have there be a break built into the middle of the season. And then on top of this, though, 18 games in, that would now be 20 or 21 weeks with 2 byes and an all-star break mixed in. Then when do you kick off? Is it starting in Labor Day weekend? Okay, so that's a shorter offseason and shorter ramp-up period. Do you still have 2 preseason games? Because all these rookies and guys that are bouncing around the league and journeymen, they need to prove and have tape to make a roster spot. Or do you link up with a league like the XFL where this will be our development program? Then we get guys from that and eliminate the preseason. So much will have to come together on both sides. It sucks, but it's going to happen in 2031. And Keegan, you said it, because at the end of the day, it is money. The next game they get, and they can sell that to Peacock, to Amazon Prime, to Apple TV by then, who knows, to whatever, Netflix now. And an NFL owner goes, oh, that's another $5-10 million I'll have in my bank account just because my athletes that I'm already paying millions have to play one more game. Yeah, sign me up for it. That's going to be reaction from the billionaires. There's going to have to be some give. Maybe they pay them a little more, but to them, to the owners, it'll be worth it when they can sell one game for $90 million, especially depending on what the stakes are. All right, finally, Stephon Diggs, now in Houston. On being in Houston with CJ Stroud, I've been in the league for a little while now, so being around a good group of guys is always a breath of fresh air. Have your opinion on being in Buffalo and playing there. I don't think there's anyone that's a bigger breath of fresh air than Josh Allen. I'm talking as a person, as a fun-loving guy, as a personality is. But Stephon Diggs saying this, being around a good group of guys is always a breath of fresh air. Interesting if that's a dig at Josh Allen or for him just being in a new setting. But what do you expect from Stephon Diggs, who's now in a cluttered wide receiver room with Tank Dell, Nico Collins, also, and Dalton Schultz in that system as well?
He's going to have to swallow his pride a little bit, I think, if Houston really wants to be successful. And, I'm not going to come out and say that he's incapable of doing that. We've seen plenty of that over the years. You know what I mean? Like, guys who were the number one guy in a certain place, they move on and they're able to decide, like, I want to do something that's going to help this team. So he's not going to reach the same plateaus that he has in the last few seasons in terms of numbers. I think he's going to be way below that. How is he going to respond is my question, because he notoriously, when he doesn't get the ball, he'll throw a fit. He'll scream at his quarterback. He'll yell at his offensive coordinator. And watching Stephon Diggs, the football player, might be one of my favorite things to do because he is so creative and he's so damn good. And he's done it above what anybody ever expected of him. So I have a lot of respect for him as a player. I think the personality stuff is like, he just needs to get out of his own way. And stuff like this, like you said, Josh Allen is just, seems like the coolest dude. And throwing a little dig at him just because you got out of there is... it's just ridiculous, I think. It's so... there's no reason for it, and he's just doing it because it's how he's always operated. We'll see how it goes in Houston. I think CJ Stroud, personality-wise, is so laid back that it might not matter. But it could blow up in his face. It could blow up in Houston's face. It can they can win a Super Bowl, they could lose in the first round of the playoffs, and he could demand a trade. I think it could go both ways.
Well, it is him on a prove-it deal. They gave him a 1-year deal, so maybe he'll be humble. He'll come in, do his job, then hope he gets paid on the other end. Him being with C.J. Stroud, which is another top 7 caliber quarterback. Josh Allen's second best in the NFL, in my opinion. But C.J. Stroud has shown in his rookie year he has a talent and in a great receiving room, and with an offensive coordinator in Bobby Slowick, which is an upgrade from Joe Brady. Stephon Diggs will eat. But will he be that 100-catch, 1,200-yard guy? I don't think so. But that's because of all the mouths to feed in this offense. But if he's winning, he'll be okay. And remember, Stephon Diggs ran his way out of Minnesota just like he did out of Buffalo.